Hey, you've made it to the podcast Recovery Captured, hosted by me, Shannon Louise, a certified recovery coach and self-verified addict. Join me on my journey through my recovery from mind-altering substances, eating disorders, depression, and much, much more. During this podcast, you'll hear my personal experience, thoughts, and opinions, as well as my guests' stories through their own recovery. I hope that you're able to take something away from this podcast and use it as a tool to help you see that your story is picture perfect.
Got it.
We're on. How you feeling about it?
I feel great. Great. So here we are. This is the Recovery Captured podcast with Shannon Louise. I'm very stoked. I'm going to work on an opener for you.
Okay.
You have it before the end of the show.
Okay. We'll have the opener at the end.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Possible.
Midway, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you in recovery for? How long have you been in recovery? And give us a fun fact.
Yeah, my name is Phillip. I used to be a heavy drinker. I am an alcoholic. That will never go away. I've been in recovery since December 14th, 2010. So we're coming up on 12 years. So that's rad. And a fun fact about myself. What the heck? I've changed careers many times. Like I've had several careers. I was a police officer in the Air Force, so security policeman. And then I was an engineer, civil engineer. That's what I went to college for. And then I was a teacher for 9 years. I taught woodshop, math, and science. And then something happened, and we'll talk about it. And I got back into engineering, and now I'm a municipal engineer for the city of Burlington. I've actually hosted a radio show.
You got all the fun facts.
I know. I was an actor for a while. I had an agent when I was a kid. Yeah, right. I tried out for this movie that never came out. It was called Sam and Me, and it's about these two kids. It's such an 80s movie, right? So it was supposed to come out in 1989. I was like 12 years old at the time. And my agent had me try out, and I still remember the line that they had me do in this room with all these other kids. And it was, Sam, Mom and Dad are going to be so mad. And that was the line.
And it never came out?
No, it never came out. So the movie was these two kids, they steal their parents' car, and they're going to drive cross country. And one's like 11 and the other's like 7. Total 1980s premise kids movie.
I love it. I wish it came out.
Oh, and now I'm a scuba instructor. I teach scuba at Waterfront Diving Center. So fun fact is, like, I have a lot of fun facts. But it's good, though. I have a zest for life. I've lived all over the world. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I live in Vermont. What else? God, I got lots of fun facts. And so one good, one bad?
Yeah, sure.
One good. I'm alive, and I have a job. My family is safe. I'm grateful that I have my health. A lot of goods. I mean, honestly, I don't know what would be bad. I have kind of I feel like my life after recovery, when I finally got sober, is just a boulevard of green lights.
No.
That's the reality, though, man. Like before I got sober, things were really fucked up. And I know you said I could swear, so I'm going to try and be strategic about that. But
enjoy.
Before the recovery program that I got into, and I know we're not supposed to mention it, but it was AA. Come on, fuck off.
Fuck off.
AA. We know what program it was. I did AA, and I was a heavy-duty AA'er for 7 years. Miss, I had 3 meetings that I went to every week, and I didn't miss them. And I had sponsors, and I sponsored lots of people. And then I went through my divorce, and things kind of plateaued for me in AA. And I recognized that, and here's the thing, I don't have resentment towards that program at all. It gave me the foundation for the life that I'm living right now, which is good. It's amazing. And I'm really happy about that. And there's not even a but, it's an and. And I had to move on to a different program for me to continue my recovery. And which is I have my wife and I have a therapist that we see every couple of weeks. We don't need to see one, really don't. It's like going to a meeting, or a meeting, going to a meeting, whatever. You don't actually really, after a while, you don't really need to go, but you need to go. So it's like you're either moving towards a drink or away from one. So it's not like we need to. We have an awesome relationship. Our marriage is fantastic. I would say that it's just like a thing that we do. It's just a thing that we do. And what it does is, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of the cure. Right.
Say that again.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of the cure. Yeah. Ooh, deep.
I like that.
So to just prevent things is more important than I'm having the heart attack. Like, we'll just prevent the heart attack and it's even better, it's all good. Right. So ultimately, after and I'm skipping around here a little bit, I'm missing all the bad stuff at the beginning.
We can backtrack.
Backtrack. Who cares? Crap. Anyway, so after I had gotten out of a kind of, I saw my own therapist as well, because I had a lot of how do I put it? Those programs in particular are good for taking stock of yourself. You do a really good job of holding up that mirror and being like, yo, look at yourself, man. You got to look at yourself right in the eyes.
Right.
However, there's one thing that those programs are not great at, and they're not great at. I got a lot of healing to do, and I am mad at myself, and I have a lot of self-anger and self-loathing, and what a piece of crap I am, and all of that. And you need individual therapy for that. You're not going to get that in the rooms. What you're going to get in the rooms is people telling you, if you're like, wow, I'm really angry with myself right now. Yeah, you should be. Oh, you got to have some self-care, and you're not necessarily going to get that in the rooms. I don't know if you're feeling that or not, Shannon.
I am. I mean, the rooms did what it needed to do for me for, I don't know, 6 years.
Exactly.
6 or 7 years. I needed exactly what it offered me, and I had to go through what I went through. But now it's just, I don't need meetings to stay sober. I know right from wrong, and I know my self-care, and I know what I need to do so I don't walk towards a drink or a drug. You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. It does, it plateaus a little bit. And you have to you either growing or you're dying sort of thing.
Yep.
And so I had to seek other opportunities, read other books, get into other things. And we do, reading a great book like the 5 Languages of Love. Holy crap. That was a mind blower for me.
Yeah.
She'd yelled at my wife, what are the other ones? But there's other books that we've read as well about self-love and self-care and understanding, because there is a certain point where, so for instance, when I went through my divorce, I kind of took the position of wow, this is all my fault. This is my responsibility. This is all my fault. When the reality is that when you're married and you have a relationship, it's like this big puzzle, and you both smash up this puzzle and you throw all the puzzle pieces to the floor. And it's if you feel like you're the only person that can go down on the floor and start picking them up, you can't. It has to be a team effort. It's a marriage. And that's what I did for a long time in that relationship, was oh man, this is all my fault, and this is all my fault, and that is all my fault, and this is all my responsibility. And there's 2 people there, right? And
Right.
see, this isn't me being bitter and being like, this was my ex-wife's fault and she's such a bitch. And no, no, no. What I'm saying here is that I tried to take ownership over the things that she had to take ownership over, and I can't. And you can't. You can't. It's not your job. And maybe it's being selfless, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So, anyways, yeah, there we go. Boy, we're going to jump around. Where
Yeah,
do we go now?
I have no idea where we're at now.
Oh man, we can start at the beginning.
We can. We can. So what was it? What were the bads? I think that's where we were at.
What were the bads? Well, the bads. I mean, there's bads now, sure, some, but I think if we go back in the past, so like we're gonna rewind the tape, and people want to hear the beginning of the story. Okay, I can tell the beginning of the story. So I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a very Midwestern family. I grew up in a family where passive aggressive is a fluent language. They speak it well, especially my mother. She speaks it very well, still does. And there's a lot of like mental health issues unchecked in my family and always have been. And so now as an adult, I can look back at that stuff and be like, oh, snap. That's what was going down.
Right.
Okay, now I understand. But when you're a kid, you're just like, oh, this is cool, No, I makes it sound like my childhood is bad. It was not.
Mm-hmm.
It was not bad. Like I had an excellent childhood. I grew up in two homes, really. We had a home in South Minneapolis and we had a lake place in southern Minnesota. So my parents owned two homes. They still do. So it wasn't like we were doing fine. My parents have always been doing fine, like upper middle class, probably upper class kind of thing. So, and I would say my folks exemplify that term of alcoholism being a progressive disease.
Mm-hmm.
As a younger child, I just remember my parents being fine. Everything was a-okay, but over time, by the time I got to like high school, like things were not going great. And my mother had a couple of manic episodes while I was in high school. And my father, he was a Vietnam vet. A lot of stuff he didn't deal with, PTSD, that kind of thing. And he started drinking heavily, heavily when I was in high school. And then it just, it became obvious that other family members, this is the same thing. Now, okay, just a little side note, that I know a lot of people will tell their story and they'll go, oh, it runs in the family, it's genetic, it's this and that. It's genetic in every family.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up. I don't know what family does not have someone or more than a couple of people that have substance abuse problems, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whatever it is.
I agree.
So, yeah, I know people like to tell that version of the story, and I can say that too. Like I fell out of the beer tree and hit every, limb on the way down because that's my family. And maybe that's true, but so is everybody else's, I guess.
Right.
I heard that saying, park place or park bench, Yale or jail, everybody's the same.
I haven't heard that, but when you mention people started, like your dad started drinking heavily in high school, and then you realized other people in your family were also doing that, is that just because like you opened your eyes and you noticed it, where they were drinking before, you just were oblivious to it, didn't realize it? Or
No. I wasn't oblivious to it at all. I've always been super observant of like human behavior and what's going on. So even when I was a younger kid, because I do remember my parents having like parties, and there was drinking. But I also remember that Monday through Friday, even Saturday and Sunday, most days, my parents were not drinking. Like when I was in elementary school, when I was even in middle school, it was just like they were kind of normies, and I mean, there was obviously some drinking, but it was like normal.
right.
Drink, that's what normal people do. Like my father would pour one brandy and have that, and that is all he would have for the rest of the evening. And that was most of my childhood, right? But that changed over time. Now, I will tell you that both of my sisters have a different perspective on this. They both are of the opinion that my parents are heavy drinkers and they've been heavy drinkers forever, and they're wrong. That is incorrect because
Are they younger than you?
no, I have an older sister and I have a younger sister.
Okay.
But I think that some folks have like this thing where they do a revisionist history. Unfortunately, I have a little bit of a burden when it comes to my brain. I have a little bit of a CD brain where I kind of remember conversations, things that happened to like the date, going back through my whole childhood. So I will let my sisters have that position. They can totally have that position. That's fine. They can own it. They can take that territory, and I'm not going to correct them on it because my parents do have substance abuse problems now. But anyways, as a younger child, things were okay. Things were okay. Looking back, there were other things that were going on. Like I said, speak fluent passive aggressive in Minnesota.
Right.
Oh yeah. So anyways, so growing up, high school, I didn't drink in high school. I didn't really smoke much pot. I didn't really do that kind of thing. Like I did a little bit, but I didn't have that moment. That moment that people have where they pick up that drink and they just like drink it down and they go, whoa, buddy. This is the solution. That happened later, which we're going to talk about. Now I drink seltzer.
Amen.
I drink a lot of it too.
I didn't like seltzer before I got sober. I absolutely hated it. I thought it was very disgusting.
Me too. But the solid drink.
Now that's all I have in my fridge.
So much seltzer. We also get a lot of the Paul Newman's limeade, lemonade, do little spritzers, that usually goes with.
Oh, okay.
You gotta make it fun,
Yeah.
I actually made homemade ginger ale 2 nights ago.
Really?
Yes.
How'd you do that?
It's so easy. 2 cups of honey, 2 cups of water in a pot, get it boiling a little bit. You take like a cup of ginger, fresh ginger, chop it up. You got to peel the skins off, put it in there. Peel the lime, get that bitter taste in there, put that in the mixture, let that boil, and then that becomes like a syrup. Okay. But you let it come to a boil and then you turn it down low and it has to be in there for 15 minutes. Strain everything out but the liquid. You take like 1.5 ounces of that in the bottom of a glass with crushed ice and then club soda.
There it is.
Baby.
Very cool.
Just gave you the recipe. Anyways, wow, we're going off. So yeah, so childhood, didn't drink, didn't have the solution. And, like I said, had a great childhood. Always was into stuff. I was into theater. I was into music. Won a few awards as a instrumentalist in high school. And just was like, I was just one of those kids where it was like, I want to do everything. I want to experience everything. I want to know. I want to do it all, I played football, sucked at it, horrible. But I did it because I wanted the experience. Then I was on the swim team, really good at that. Okay. I was captain of the swim team, really good swimmer. It was awesome. It was so fun. And then I made the decision to leave the tribe. And really it is, my family is this like tribe. And I think subconsciously I knew that my family was heading towards some kind of unhealthy times, because that's really where the beginning, I recognized my senior year of high school. That's when the heavy drinking really started. And I didn't say anything, but it was like, there was like a party started, and the bottles of brandy would come out and vodka and the beer and the wine coolers. And my parents were okay with underage people drinking at the house when that was not okay at all before. And it was new. This was new stuff. And I know that other people would say, well, it was always that way. No, it wasn't. It was not. It was new. This was new behavior. And so I joined the Air Force. I was like, well, I knew that I was smart enough to go to college, but I also knew that I wasn't mature enough. And those are two extremely different things. Intelligence and maturity. Maturity is doesn't matter what your age is, it's acceptance of responsibility. That's what maturity is. And I was not there. And I knew that. I was self-aware. I had some fun times to be had, if you know what I'm saying, as a younger fella, 19, 20 years old. So I joined the Air Force, went off, still didn't get into this heavy drinking thing. Still was pretty much a normie, right? And was stationed in South Dakota, was stationed in Nevada, kind of stateside. And then I got orders to go to Germany. I'd already done a tour to the Middle East, been to Saudi Arabia, and had some experiences of some drinking, right? But still, it was all normal stuff. Was it heavy drinking? Yes. But I hadn't, that moment, man. There's that fucking moment, that glorious moment. We're almost there. But where you have that drink. And anyway, so everything was still normal. I got orders to go to Germany. It's a 3-year tour. And so I went, and one of the first nights that I was there was this group of rowdy guys, and they were just like, come on, man, we're going downtown. Yeah. And we went downtown, and someone put this giant beer right in front of me. It was called a Crystal Weissen. Down in Germany, you got the Hefeweizen, you get the Crystal Weissen. Crystal Weissen is like a lighter beer, and you put a slice of lemon in it, and it was huge. I mean, it was gigantic. It was like 2 beers. I think it was 24 ounces of beer, right?
Yep.
This buddy of mine, he just downed it, and you could tell that he just felt fantastic. And I was like, okay. So I, when in Rome, didn't do as the other idiots. So I downed the entire beer because I didn't want to look like an idiot. And it was in that moment where I was like, man, I'm going to do this all the time. I'm going to do this a lot. This is great. And, I'd never had a problem talking to women before. So that wasn't really a concern. No problems there.
Right.
What it did do is it allowed me to talk to other guys, because that was a problem for me. I didn't necessarily have as much confidence because I'm a very emotional, sensitive person. And my fellow fellas are meatheads. They're all just morons knocking their coconuts together. They don't want to have emotional conversations about feelings and stuff. Like, that's what I mean. I'm an emotional person. Like, I have 3 daughters, and and my wife, and I swim in a sea of estrogen, and I'm probably the most sensitive person in my house by a long shot. It's for sure. That's God. That is God's honest truth. So I had this drink, and now I'm able to hang out with the other guys, right? I'm able to hang out with these other guys, and it was in that moment where it was like, and I didn't recognize it as a problem yet. That happened after I got married the first time. So I got married the first time, had a child, and we had a house in Germany, and I was young. I got married when I was 22, 21, 22. And my oldest daughter, I had her when I was 23, 24 years old. I was 23. And I remember sitting at home, and I had this beer in front of me that was like this football. It was a Minnesota Vikings beer mug. Like first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. I'm going up the mug here. Fourth quarter, whatever. Like, you drink it all the way to the bottom. Gotten to the end of the game. And so I just drank the entire, and it fit one beer perfectly. And I remember just drinking the whole thing down and feeling this wash of relief. Of like, everything is okay. In this moment, everything is okay. And in that same moment, I had this epiphany where I was like, this is going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I knew instantly. I said, one day, and I don't know when, but one day I'm going to have to deal with this.
Right.
I'm going to have to deal with this. And I said, but not today. But not today. And it stayed that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wasn't that the way it was for you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What was your weapon of choice?
Everything. I first start off with marijuana, and that was a staple to my diet. So that was every day, all day. And
Little
then,
devil's lettuce.
yeah, exactly. So that was like a consistency in my life. And then
Yeah, but you can't be addicted to marijuana, Shannon.
that's what they say. But baby, let me tell you what, that's not the case. Which I don't understand. Like, how could you not be? Like you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, of
can you
course.
be addicted to anything,
Yes,
technically?
you can be addicted to water.
Right?
It's
Which
true. You can get addicted to anything. It is a situation where yes, I know nicotine is supposedly, they get you addicted more to cigarettes, but it's the process,
mm-hmm.
and it's what
Mm-hmm.
gets you. So the devil's lettuce is your normal everyday thing.
Mm-hmm. And then I would go in like periods of time with certain drugs. So like there was always booze available, but I wasn't the biggest drinker, at least until I was at the end of it. But it would go like um I don't know, mushrooms for a period of time. Then the next period was acid.
Oh,
Then we got
sure.
on to 80s and and then it wasn't until the last 4 months of my using I was on cocaine. And that was like my block. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah,
always
yeah.
came in different sections, but whatever you fed me, I was gonna consume without a doubt.
Yeah, it's one of those things too. Like, so sitting in my seat as just this beer drinking guy
Mm-hmm.
and alcohol consumer, like I would look at someone like you and be like, oh, well, I'm not that bad. I'm
Right.
not doing drugs. I'm not. Whoa, ho, ho, ho.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I mean, smoking marijuana would have been fine, but I'm not doing LSD. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not doing mushrooms.
Well,
I'm
that's
not.
how it looked like with alcohol when I went into Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah,
I'd walk in the rooms and I would judge. And I'm like, I never drank that bad.
yeah, right, exactly, right.
Like, I didn't even drink that much in a
Yep.
fucking year, let alone in a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
right. Oh
it's the
man, I'm not
fact,
that bad.
right? It's the fact knowing that if I consume one drink, I will then consume more. I don't understand how you can only consume one. So, like,
Oh,
that's how I knew I was an alcoholic.
oh yeah. But see, it's not even about the consumption. It's about the like. I will do any at that time. Like when I was at my worst, I will do anything. Nothing else is as important.
Mm-hmm.
I will do anything to get what I'm going to get. And I use this. It's that whole like I'm a functioning alcoholic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's the thing. I got out of the military. I had a wife and child, and I got into college.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is so I got into the University of Vermont, and I studied civil engineering, got my 4-year degree. One of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life. Raising a child, being married, going through college, all at the same time, and I was still a raging alcoholic.
Mm.
But I justified it, like just, have a drink to relax, have it because it goes from like you want to you need to you have to,
Yep.
right? And that's the hell stage, right? You have to,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I was okay because I got my degree and then I got a job in engineering, worked in the field, was successful, and then I wasn't, right? So I basically got canned because I was not clear-headed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Some of it was there was a housing market crisis going on at the
Yep.
time, so this was like '07, and yeah, that was a bit of an issue. There was the housing market situation, and they were looking for someone who in our firm should we cut. Well, let's cut the guy who's bleary-eyed and
Mhm.
can't get his work done properly.
Right.
Is he smart? Yes. Does he know things? Yes. Is he bleary-eyed? Yeah. So he's the guy that we're going to cut.
Mhm.
So, you know, part of it is one thing, but part of it, I mean, like that's what happened. So then I was kind of adrift, and um, and I recognized that the alcohol was the problem. And so I kind of like, you go through those periods where you just like straighten up a little bit, right?
Yep.
You like straighten things up a little bit. You see a therapist, you do a little fix, you kind of get your act together, you start running. There was a time period when I was in college where I was on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu team at UVM. You just like, you do some stuff, and you're feeling good, feeling all right. Just kind of like get the table level by sticking some books under one of the legs.
Yeah.
But it's not a real fix.
No. How
It's
long?
Yeah, it's like you just kind of brighten it up, and people, hey man, you're looking good. How are you doing? What's going on? Yeah, feeling good. Yeah, things are good. Things
Mhm.
are good. Glad I got fired from engineering because of the housing market. That was what I would say. Bullshit, but also true.
Right.
Element of truth, but not.
Right.
There were plenty of other people that they could have fired. There were plenty of other people that they could have
Right.
let go of me. Now they let go of me in such a way that I could say that it was the housing market. So it was a little adrift. And because I have a college degree, I could work as a substitute teacher, in the school district. Someone mentioned it to me, say, hey man, give that a shot, give that a try. Like, okay, yeah, we'll give it a shot. We'll give it a try. And so I worked as a substitute teacher, and I felt like I was sprinkled with magic pixie dust. I loved it
Mhm.
immediately, and I was good at it. And I was like, well, what do I got to do? So how us alcoholics are. You just like, well, I'm put the brakes on, baby. I'm going to figure out how to get into this profession full time and not just be a sub, but I want my own classroom. And I became educated on it. Now, at the same time, my first marriage,
Mhm.
is pretty rocky. And it's pretty rocky because we had a codependent relationship for
Mhm.
sure. And my first wife had mental health issues that she didn't take care of. God, it's such a the real pandemic in America is not COVID, baby. It's mental health issues and people
Absolutely.
just not wanting to deal with it. It's just as bad as a heart attack or a stroke, and folks just don't contend with these things. So my first wife, I call her my first wife because she never became my ex-wife because she died.
Hmm.
Right. So June 4th, 2008, I'm finishing up my student teaching. I'm getting that certification. And my first wife, who was this crazy dieter, right? She would do that crazy diet thing. She would do the high protein, low carb diet, and she didn't do it in a healthy way. She put her body into a state of ketosis. Medical examiner explained to me that she had basically non-traceable amount of potassium in her body. Potassium is the electrolyte that you need to regulate the rhythm of your heart. Now, this is 2008. I'm okay now. This is 14 years ago. We're doing fine.
Right.
But it happened right in front of me and my oldest daughter, who was only 7 at the time. 7 years old. And so now life is pretty real.
Mhm.
2008. It's still 2 more years before I finally hit the super bottom, right? It's 2008. I'm a single dad. I get my first teaching gig, right? I'm working at St. Joseph's School teaching math and science, and then I'm working at Sylvan as a tutor. Because let me tell you something, teaching at a parochial school doesn't pay anything,
Mhm.
but it was experience. And and I would, like I said, I kind of got the table flat.
Right.
Got it kind of flat.
Mhm.
Had this tragedy happen. But it could have been me. It really could have been.
Mhm.
This codependent relationship I had with my first wife, it could have been either one of us. You know, she had this food thing, I had my booze thing. We didn't cross those boundaries, you know, like I'll, you know, codependent is right out of the textbook,
Mhm.
right out of the textbook. I got the table level again, and now I'm teaching. And then I get into this other relationship, my second wife, who's my ex-wife. And I was not in love with her. I was never in love with her. But I thought that she was in love with my daughter. And I was wrong.
Mm.
Right. And I got into this. You're a single father, and you think this is the right thing to do. Right. Because my daughter needs a mother.
Mm.
And it was a huge mistake for Nora, for my daughter, ultimately, because my ex-wife was, and I recognize this now, I couldn't recognize it when I was in the rooms, was emotionally abusive towards my oldest daughter. And I let it happen. I let it happen. I let it happen for sure. For sure. So I remarried in late 2009. So it was almost 2 years after my first wife had passed away. And then I went another year, December of 2010, where I had hit rock bottom.
Mhm.
I had a new teaching job. I was teaching wood shop, and I was getting paid very well to do it at a middle school, Camel Summit Middle School in Richmond, Vermont. And I loved it. But I was a mess.
Mhm.
I was a mess. And it really had hit rock bottom. Really had hit rock bottom. I had seen a therapist, that didn't work. He kept giving me these pamphlets. Go to AA. Go to AA. And I remember sitting in my living room, and I'm watching some TV show, and the battle had been won that day. You know the battle I'm talking about. When you're in the car and you're on your way home, and there's all these opportunities,
Mhm.
right? You know what I'm talking about.
Mm,
And
sure
everybody
do.
out there in recovery knows what I'm talking about. You're in the car and you know there's a turn off there. There's a turn off here. I can go there and get what I need. I can go there and get what I need. I can go there and get what I need. Right?
Mhm.
Convenience stores all the way home. Grocery stores all the way home. Alcohol everywhere. I'm sure you had the same thing. It's just a
Mm.
phone. Just a pull off here. Just a
Right.
pull off. And I won that battle that day. And I said, okay, today's the day. Today's the day when I finally, because I couldn't put together one fucking day. I couldn't put one day together. I started going to meetings in August of 2010. Like seriously.
Yep.
I did go to a meeting in when I was in college, like in 2005, but it didn't take. It was like a one-off. Like these guys are idiots. I
Mhm.
mean, you know, you go to one meeting and you're like, oh my God, these
Yes.
give me a break, man.
Right.
And so in August of that year, I started going, and I would commit. I would get a sponsor. I would meet with a sponsor. People think that it's like this instantaneous thing. I met with my sponsor, and he or she said this thing about life, and it was just an epiphany, and no, no, wrong, wrong answer. Not what happens at all. What happens is you keep coming, and like these little bits, a sentence, like my life unfolds without my permission all the time, right?
Mhm.
Little phrases, things like what's something you heard in the beginning, something you heard that finally made you go, shit,
Mm.
this is the jam. Actually, these people are not full of crap.
You know, one of the slogans or sayings that I heard that really helped me and like made it stick was one I don't know if I'm going to butcher this. One
No,
week without meetings makes 1 week.
okay.
Do you
See, you never know
is
what's
it
going to.
unfolding for you?
Not really.
So 1 week
Yeah.
without a meeting makes 1 week. Like makes me weak, right? I was like, oh, okay, that's
Dad joke.
dope. I was like, okay, no, that makes sense. Like,
It
but I
does.
needed it at that time because I needed to be going to meetings. That's
Yeah, that's where you needed to be.
cliche to say, but that was what was saving
Right.
my life.
Right. No, that's totally true. Yeah, the I think one that really stuck in my head was, bro, you're on an elevator and it's going down, and you get to choose when you get off the elevator. Like, there's no bottom to this thing until you die. Like, it's an elevator and it's going down. You choose when to get off. And I was like, yeah, that's a good one.
Mhm.
And just little bits, little nuggets. So I started going in August, and I had one guy, give me the book, and he's like, yeah, go home and read it and drink. We don't care. Do it. I'm like, okay, whatever. I never read it.
Mhm.
The only time I ever read that book was in meetings.
Right.
I've read it cover to cover many times, but I never read it but in meetings. I didn't. Anyways, um, and information started getting in there. Information started getting in there. And the thing that really happened that was the bottom for me was two things. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm at home. I survived. I got through it. I didn't pull off the road. I didn't stop at a convenience store. I didn't stop at a grocery store. Here's the other thing. I don't know how it was for you with drinking, but for me, I would change up the places that I would go to get to pick up, because I didn't want the people that I was buying from to be like, man, this guy comes here a lot. But I would go there, often enough for them to be like, oh yeah, you're a regular.
Mhm.
Not them not knowing that I was a regular at like 5 other places.
Mhm.
I'm going to like 6, 7 places a week,
Right.
draining the bank account, of course. Anyways, so I got home. I'm there. I made it. I
Right.
didn't pull off. I didn't make the phone call. I didn't do the thing. And then it's like I had an out of body experience.
Mhm.
I watched myself stand up. I watched myself go to the door. Tears are streaming down my face. I don't want to leave the house. I don't want, this is like the insanity of this. I have the keys in my hand. I got there. It's 10 o'clock at night. I have to work the next day.
Yeah.
What is happening? I am tears in my eye, getting in the car and going to the convenience store that was closing soon. And I didn't want to go. That was like the moment. So you got the bookends. Me sitting on the couch, watching football, having that beer, going like, this is going to be a problem. To me, sitting on the couch 10 years later, going, I don't have control of this at all.
Right.
I have zero control of this. Zero control of this. The other thing that happened was my parents came and visited. My middle daughter had been born in August of 2010. And they came in November to visit and to see her be baptized. That was the other thing too. I was, really was a good Catholic, going to church. I was going to church I was a catechist. What a load of crap! I'm telling you, seriously. Like all these things are going to solve things. Yeah, right.
Right.
Anyways, so my parents came out, and I was like trying to be really good, but my parents, they undermined everything. They had alcohol with them, and I would sneak some with my father, and they knew it. And they knew it, and they knew that I was trying to get sober. But that's what unhealthy people want, unhealthy people to stay unhealthy.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like that's how it goes, They just thought, oh, we're having a good time, we're having fun. Like, let's keep the fun rolling,
Right.
Don't stop the fun. Don't stop the fun. So, a couple weeks later, get on the phone with my younger sister, who is completely sober at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and her 1 year anniversary is coming up. Now, I don't know why. I think part of it was the meditation practice, the prayer practice. And I kept saying over and over again, please, God, remove the obsession for alcohol. Please, God, remove the obsession for alcohol. Because my sponsor at the time said, that's just start doing that. I don't care. Do anything else. Just do that at least once a day. And I would do that. Please remove the obsession for alcohol. Please remove the obsession for alcohol. That, in combination with getting on the phone with my sister Rachel and her saying to me, well, I got my 1 year coming up. It's December 14th. And it was December 13th that day. I said, well, I guess tomorrow's going to be my first day of sobriety. And it was, and it stuck. And it stuck.
Why
Right?
did it stick this time?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Just did,
The
huh?
obsession for alcohol was removed. Right? And, I could go through the whole thing. And I went through all the steps and, I did it a bunch of times. And ultimately, what it's all about when you work in a program is like the thesis statement is very simple. And the thesis statement is how to take responsibility for your own life.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, though. That's all you're going to get. That's all you're going to get. It's a good one. And there are people that I knew in the program that are still going to meetings on a daily basis, and they need to.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to because they still don't know how to take responsibility for their own lives. Right. And I feel like I do.
Right.
I'm taking responsibility for my own life. And that is, to me, what the foundation of recovery is.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Ooh. That's a question I would have to think about because I don't know. I don't know the exact. I don't know. I like taking accountability.
Yeah.
I like that aspect of it. I don't know. I don't know the pinpoint.
So I had some good years.
Yeah.
My ex-wife and I had a home together, had another daughter. I have 3 daughters. But it was always like AA was my life.
Yeah.
AA was my family. AA was my friends. And I was the caretaker of my children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I cooked dinner. I took the kids to activities. My ex-wife and I, we did nothing together.
Mm-hmm.
She likes television. That's what she likes. I mean, it's not bitter. It's just that's what she likes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what she liked when we were together. And I made some mistakes. There was some infidelity there, being honest. And I felt like an awful human being. And, it was, the thing about divorce is now we're getting into a whole other thing. I never told this part of my story at an AA meeting because I stopped going. I started getting into other therapy because it was like, this is not cutting the mustard anymore. The rooms get you so far.
Exactly.
Right? They get you so far when it comes to it. And like I said, it helps you take self-responsibility. It helps you take responsibility for your own life. But life is not black and white like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when I'm bringing to my sponsor, while I'm going through this divorce, well, what did you do? Well, what did you do? Well, what did you do? In a divorce, it's not black and white. I needed something more advanced.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I sought different therapy.
For sure.
I didn't try and do it on my own. I think that's really important to know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just, as I said, divorce. It's messy. And There's not a Hallmark movie moment where somebody's flipping over the table. I'm out of here, you dirty, rotten you bastard. And then they walk out the door. No, doesn't happen that way. It is a slow descent into hell.
Yeah.
Over years. I was sleeping in my basement for 2 years, looking at the ceiling with my dog. I had a pug. I still do. He's here with me now. and it was that at that point, it was like, what am I going to do here? And I was teaching, and this is where things get kind of messy, actually. And I was sexually harassed at my job as a teacher. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you're a guy. What's the big deal, right? What's the big deal?
Yeah.
Well, let me give you the kind of a rundown here. So I had a female principal at the time, and I went into her office and I said, we need to talk. Now, she was very touchy-feely with me anyways, which I just kind of blew off. She always wanted to give me a hug, that kind of thing. Like, you just kind of go, okay, whatever, that's no big deal.
Right.
As if I was a female teacher and it was a male principal, you'd have a different perspective on it.
Yep.
The male principal wants to hug this female teacher. Okay, that's kind of weird. So I sit in her office and I tell her I'm going through divorce. Like, I need you to know this piece of information. I just wanted to meet with you alone to let you know this is happening. And her response was, well, I'm going through divorce too. You should get a sugar mama. Her exact words. Now, that's funny. Because I went home and I told a friend of mine about it. And this friend of mine was like, that's kind of fucked up. I'm like, no, it's not. It's no big deal. And she said, switch it around. You're a 37-year-old female teacher. You go into the 50-year-old principal's office who's a guy. You're going through a divorce. You tell this male principal, I'm going through a divorce. And he says, oh, I'm going through a divorce too. You should get a sugar daddy. I was like, oh, actually, yeah.
Right.
Ooh, that's not great. And it only kind of escalated from there. She would stop by my classroom after the kids had left and wanted to know about my personal life. Oh, are you dating? Are you dating anybody? What's happening with that?
Right.
That kind of stuff. And I tried approaching the union about it. So this is the really screwed up part. And the principal put me on administrative leave because I had talked about my divorce at school. But she had talked about my divorce at school. And I brought it to the superintendent. I tried going through all the right channels. You try and do the right thing in these situations. Like, I'm not looking for money. I don't want to sue anybody. I just want my job. And, I don't want to be sexually harassed at work. If you've ever been sexually harassed before, you feel, at first, it is extremely flattering. At first, you're like, wow, this is great. This person who's semi-attractive as well finds me attractive and is, being flattering and flirtatious. But then after a while, you feel just gross and uncomfortable. And, the other kind of subtext that goes along with this for me is I'm a guy.
Right.
This kind of thing's not supposed to happen to guys. And if it does happen to a guy, yo, bro, high five. But it wasn't. Like, I felt
violated.
I felt violent. Now, Shannon, I'm sure that you've had similar experiences. It sucks, man.
Yeah.
So I got fired.
What happened to her?
She resigned.
Like that year?
Yeah, she resigned. But I still got fired. And I was like, see, this is what I was talking about at the beginning of this thing, where it was like things are going to happen to you in sobriety, and you're going to now have the tools to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I had the tools to deal with it, but I knew it was raining. It was raining hard.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I had met my current wife. I mean, I've been going through a divorce for 2 years, and I just gotten fired, and now it is raining poop particles from the sky. Met this amazing woman. Now you would think, all right, you lost one wife, she passed away. You got a divorce. You're not gonna get married again. As soon as I met Sheila, I was like, oh, we're done. It's over. We're done. It's like this is the greatest human being I've ever met in my life.
Aw.
No, seriously, like just forget it. Like it's over now, you know. But I was not a very attractive catch at that moment. I just gotten canned, going through a divorce. I have children, and now my ex-wife. You know, I've been was very open and honest with my ex-wife. I said I'm going to start dating because I mean it's been 2 years since I've been dating, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
And cannot live on
Yeah.
to the principal, you know, like that would have been like, come on, oh God, Jesus Christ. So I was honest with my ex-wife. Hey, dating. Oh, okay. Who are you dating? Who's this person? I'd like to know. Oh, well, this is blah blah blah. And things shifted in our divorce. Our divorce was amicable. Like we were like, okay, we'll split the kids 50-50. You know, you can have the house. I don't care. But just give me time to find a place to live and, you know, all of that. And because I started dating, it was like the gods of thunder and anger. It's like she like mustered her troops together, and you know, rumor mill, you know, like Philip's a deadbeat dad and all this other stuff, and none of it is true. I mean, like I am the mother hen in my house, and this information got to my current wife's mother, right? Because Vermont's a small state, and so
Sure
it's like,
is.
oh my God, it's like everything's falling down at once, and my career's over, going through a divorce, and it's in that moment when it's like you start taking stock,
Mm-hmm.
start going, okay, what's did I do? What's my responsibility? And you really got to start going, okay, that's my responsibility. That's not. That's not. That's not. That's not. Okay. So I got another job in teaching at Job Corps
Mm-hmm.
as a math and carpentry teacher. Job Corps was okay. But then ultimately I got a job in engineering again. And this is like 6-7 years ago now. And I've been working there ever since. I'm a public works engineer with the
Mm-hmm.
city of Burlington, and it's a great job. And the thing is that I thought that teaching was going to be it for me. But now it's like, now I have this job where I'm like, wow, I love this job. And I'm so happy doing this. So when you have this perspective that everything's falling apart and that the world is coming down and that nothing is ever going to be better again, and it's like, it actually is, as long as you stay sober.
Right.
Right? As long as you stay sober. And I was able to do that. And then I got into scuba, and now I'm a scuba instructor. I mean, boulevard of green lights. Boulevard of green lights. What else do you want to know?
I mean, you just gave a great story, and I absolutely love it. I think you touched on a lot of great stuff, and the progression of your drinking and what came of it, and, sharing that regardless if you're using or not, life is fucking hard, and there is a way around it, and you can do it with grace and dignity. Sometimes it might not feel that way and it might not look that way, but you get through it, where sometimes it just feels like you can't. Life is, you're just stuck, it becomes debilitating, but you totally explained that you can get through a lot no matter what.
Absolutely. And you can too.
That's
I'm
right.
I'm curious to hear more about your story, but I mean, ultimately, like the biggest test of my sobriety was the divorce, sexual harassment, losing the job, all at the same time.
And did you drink through any of that?
No, not at all. No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And the thing is that and at that point, that was the breakoff point, honestly, for AA.
Mm,
That was the point, and this is so I guess it's important that I told the whole story before I explained why I don't go to AA anymore. I actually went to an AA meeting 3 weeks ago because a friend of mine, he's a neighbor, he's trying to get sober, and he said, "Would you go to an AA meeting with me?" I was like, "Yeah, sure," and I did. So I'm not like, to hell with the program. No, no, no.
right.
It was that stage where, like, I'm going through this divorce, I'm being sexually harassed, and I'm getting fired for it, because that's exactly what happened. The kind
Yeah.
of thing that happened to women for years, for hundreds of years, women would be sexually harassed, and if they didn't do what the person wanted to do, they were fired.
Mm-hmm.
It was exactly what happened to me. Now, does that make me a victim? Kind of, but nah, because I'm okay. As it was fine. I didn't die, but I knew going to AA and touching base with the program people, it was going to be a lot of, what are you doing to take responsibility for being sexually harassed? Nothing, motherfucker.
Right.
Because it's not my responsibility. That is a lot of what recovery programs are. Now, that's good for people in the beginning when they need to take stock, when they need to take responsibility for their lives, and they don't have the tools, and they've never done that before in their lives. They've never looked in the mirror and been like, responsibility, here we come. But when it gets complicated and life is gray and it's not all your responsibility, you need other tools.
Mm-hmm.
You need to develop other tools, and you can't always get that in the rooms.
Well, I think you hit it on the head with AA brought you to a certain point.
Oh,
And I've
yeah.
talked about this before in some of my other episodes. For me, AA brought me to a certain point. My first sponsor brought me to a certain point. Then I needed another sponsor to bring me to a different point. And that's how it was with AA. It brought me to a certain point. I became idle, and that wasn't comfortable for me. So I made the decision to leave that program and go to like refuge recovery. Refuge recovery came to a certain point for me, and it coincided with COVID starting, and then it opened up other doors. So
Like
now I'm in that next transition of
this podcast.
this podcast. And I've mentioned that, like, I don't want to use my work as like a a foundation for my recovery, but as a recovery coach,
Yeah.
I am helping other people through their recovery, which in turn helps me in my recovery.
Yes.
So,
exactly. Which is why I did this today.
right.
Because I know that the story that I have, like, there's somebody out there right now who's like, man, the program has been so helpful to me, but I need something else. I need something more, because, when you go to the rooms, we'll refer to it as that, they have this drum beat. Doom, doom, doom. Don't leave. Don't leave. If you leave, you're gonna die. Don't leave, right? You hear that drum beat over and over again. And there always was this thing in the back of my mind whenever I would go to the rooms and be like, what about the people that are successful? And there's got to be some success stories. And honestly, there are. There's a ton. There's a ton of people that I've met out there. There's a ton of people that I've worked with where that's the case. Right. And to a certain extent, there is hope after you plateau in a program, because you got to find another program. You got to find something else. something else that's going to push you, something else that's going to help you grow as an individual.
Right. So we left the program and had something in place
Yes.
to I guess, replace that. Right. We're not saying, stop the program and then stop everything else
Your
to,
program is yours. It's
right,
yours.
right.
This is all yours. So you have to keep it going in your own way. Now, sad story about my younger sister, Rachel, who was sober. A couple years after I got sober, she went out again,
Mm,
and hasn't come back since.
mhm.
And she's on her journey with mental health issues.
Right.
My mother's on her journey with mental health issues,
Mm,
which that's their story. That's pretty serious stuff going on with both of them right now.
mm,
And it's not my tale to tell, other than to say I'm glad that they're doing something about it now.
mhm, mhm.
Um, but yeah, like I said, pandemic isn't necessarily just one thing. And that COVID, it's mental health issues.
Mhm,
It's mental health issues, and anybody can go down that path.
mm,
Anybody can go down the path of substance abuse. It's not just substance abuse. I mean, gambling, drugs, sex, water, exercise.
right.
People get addicted to yoga. People get addicted to scratch off tickets, cars, skiing,
Mhm,
whatever.
mhm.
Any of those things can become an addiction. Any of those things can become an addiction. So,
Do you have cravings now?
for alcohol?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Mm.
No, not at all. I don't even think about it. What about you?
No, I don't think about it unless I'm talking about it, right? And a lot of it is it's kind of ironic because you're in the program, right?
Yeah,
If
sure.
AA, you're going to a meeting every single day. I'm not thinking about it until I walk into that fucking room and then
Yeah, yeah.
I think about it the whole time. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, now I'm reliving like what went on. And then I gotta go and do step work and then I'm walking through all that. But now I never think about it unless I'm talking about it. You know what I mean?
Totally. There are other things that I will think about that are unhealthy things. Like I can become indignant, like other people. Customer service, like I can go into a grocery store and somebody doesn't bag something for me, or whatever. I don't get the right amount of soy sauce in a bag, and I can become like a jerk. And I check myself into those boxes because
Mhm.
I have worked in the service industry before. Actually, just recently, my wife went through nursing school. She's a nurse now, but while we were going through that, I had five jobs because one income wasn't going to do it. I was working as an engineer for the city. I was doing social media for the scuba shop I work for. Was working as a swim instructor for the Edge, swim instructor for the YMCA, and I was working at a grocery store as a maintenance guy fixing stuff like
Mhm.
air conditioners, things like that. And so I was in it was a good reminder, when you go through those time periods, it was a good reminder that it's like we're all the same. So when you go to the grocery store and somebody's bagging your groceries, that person, you are not better than that person.
Mm-mm.
You are the same. But a lot of people get into that attitude, because now, my wife's a nurse, I'm an engineer, we're doing super okay. I got one job, you
Right.
know, and we're actually like, how do we, oh boy, we need some deductions for our taxes this year. So, it's a different position to be in.
Mhm.
But like I said, I can get into that unhealthy thinking of being like entitled and indignant, and I mean there's all sorts of unhealthy thinking type things that go on too beyond just substance abuse. So it's never been the alcohol.
Yeah, it's once you put down the alcohol, it's everything thereafter that
Right.
needs to be fixed, needs
Yeah.
to be looked at, and needs to have, be rearranged.
Yeah. Yeah, it's never been the alcohol. It's never been the alcohol for me at all. It's been all the other things that I processed through. The things from my childhood where I thought I was a victim in certain situations, and it was like, well, actually, no, not at all. Or other things that people had wronged me that actually they didn't at all, and just attitudes, general attitudes. So I don't know.
You keep bringing up the word victim, and yes, shitty things happen to us, and yes, we are a victim in certain situations. But what I think, recognizing where we're a victim and where we're like pulling it out, because I feel like people use I'm a victim as like a weapon and as
Yes.
an excuse.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's something that I definitely had to learn through the
Right.
program. And now I recognize certain people do it. And obviously I can't, in certain situations, can't be like, okay, let's stop being the victim,
Right.
because
Right.
once you stop being the victim, a lot of fucking healing can happen.
Absolutely.
A
I
lot.
think, I mean, ultimately, I think that what can happen when folks take on that victim role and they are like, oh, I'm going to put the V on my chest and be the victim, is they're actually taking away from people who genuinely are. A
Right.
great example of that is like the Me Too movement, which happened pretty close to the time period when I was sexually harassed. I recognized right away that I had no business wearing the flag of Me Too anything because number one, I am a guy. Number two, I wasn't sexually abused or anything like that. I had no place in wearing that mantle or even approaching it because there were real people, real women, and real men that had been through real situations. Mine was not. No, absolutely not. Was I a victim? No, I don't feel like I was. I was caught in a scenario. I was caught in a situation. And I think recognizing that, like, am I actually a victim here? Am I really a victim here? Because if you are, then yeah, okay, wear that flag. But if you're not, like, don't even bother. Come on, man. Like, give me a break. Let it be for people who actually are. Like all the Bill Cosby victims. Like those are real victims.
Right.
Matt Lauer, he was led a path of destruction, or the Harvey Weinstein victims. Like those are real, actual people that were victimized.
Yep. But at what point do you stop holding that V to your chest and actually take
responsibility for yourself?
Yeah, accountability for your feelings in your healing process? I think I get caught up in that. I get caught up in that thought more frequently than not.
Sure.
And I just think about it because I didn't play a victim. I was a victim. And I carried that out. I wore it on my chest for many, many years. And I used that as a ploy to act out in the ways that I did. I used it to consume drugs and alcohol the way that I wanted to because I was sexually abused. You know what I mean? I used it as that. My mother left when I was little. So I used that because I am a victim,
Those are real things that happened.
Absolutely. But once
like that is a was and now I have to be an is.
Exactly. I separated myself. I went through the mourning process. I went through the healing process and I did a lot of therapy, like years of therapy, to get to the point where I am today. That is, I'm not stuck in that was anymore. And I think that's part of the program as well. That question that you asked me before, like taking accountability, not playing that victim anymore, because that's keeping me in the past and not allowing me to heal in the proper way that I need to heal to be a successful human being, to be there for other people, to be there for victims that are right now. Absolutely. You know what I mean?
Everyone can, and I will say, like, anyone at any time in any moment can pick up the mantle of being a victim. Like I could do that right now. For example, I would say that we live in an extremely sexist world. No doubt about it. And 99.999 way out percent of the time, it benefits who? Me, a middle-aged white man. But there are certain situations when it's the other way, like in divorce, when it comes to child custody, right? And that is a situation that I feel like happened to me. And
Mhm.
at first, like when we went through the divorce, and that's kind of how things shook out, I was like, this is wrong. This is not right. I'm the mother hen in this house. But now I accept it. I have to accept it. I have to accept the custody situation for what it is. My wife and I both accept, all right, this is when we have the kids. This is how it works. And there's nothing else that we can do about it.
Mhm.
If I wanted to, I could get a lawyer. I could burn the whole world down. And what I would wind up doing is turning my children's world upside down.
Mhm.
Could I fight and get 50-50 custody for my kids at this point? Yes, I could. Yes, I could. But it would hurt them. It would hurt them.
Mhm.
I want them like more than 50-50. Yeah. 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 Do you have kids yet?
I do not.
Okay. Well, take time. Take your time.
Oh, I sure will.
Don't rush into anything.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm still a young man and I have one that's a third year student at St. Mike's.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
Right. Well, that's the other thing too. So like Nora and I, like she's mine,
Mhm.
but she's not mine. That's the thing about parenting. It's my point here. Is
Yeah.
my children are not mine. They're their own people, right? And
Mhm.
I have to do the best thing I can do for them is to help them, to
Mhm.
help them as
Mhm.
much as I can, you
Mhm.
know. So anybody, we could all play that victim role for
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm.
Oh boy.
I know we've done good with our time, huh?
Oh
Let's
yeah.
let's go to our not rapid fire, rapid not so we're gonna get into some fucking questions that
Rapid fire questions. Let's
rapid fire questions that aren't so rapid. That was really hard for me to say. I apologize.
okay, rapid fire the fire.
What makes you happy?
What makes me happy? When my thoughts, my words, and my actions all match.
Mm.
My thoughts, my words, and my actions all match.
Does that
Right?
happen often?
Yeah, sure it does. That's the beauty of scuba diving, right? So when you scuba dive, it's a safe sport for sure. But
Mhm.
when you do it, you have to stay focused,
Mhm.
right? So it's that whole meditation thing. It's being mindful, right? So mindfulness makes you happy. And so like scuba diving is the ultimate sport of being in the moment. Like I am in the water. I am breathing on a hose. I have pressure in my tank. I have other people with me that I have to take care of if they have problems. I have to be in the moment.
Mhm.
And you're in the moment. And so when your thoughts, your words, and your actions all match.
I love that. Who's your biggest influence?
My wife,
Aw.
by a long shot. So she is the definition of joy, right? Like her email is Go Sheila, right? I mean, it's like, and she's just an amazing human being. And she's been through her own stuff, you know. She had an ex-husband and he was physically abusive. Now, if you knew her, you'd be like, what? You wouldn't put up with that. You would have beat the crap out of him. Like she's kind of a badass, like
Right,
seriously.
right.
But we all go through things, right? I mean, she she has her bachelor's in economics from Pomona. She has her master's in international development from some big time school in Boston. Then she went to the Philippines and was a dive master and a rescue diver in the Philippines. And then came home and became a scuba instructor. And now she's a certified RN, registered nurse. What?
She,
I married James Bond.
I, she sounds amazing.
Oh my God. Are you upstairs? can't hear me. Yeah, no, she's amazing. Amazing human being. I mean, we're friends on Facebook, so you can see
Yeah,
the things
I'll
we
creep.
do. Yeah. I mean, it's like, what are we doing? Well, let's go climbing. We're gonna go climbing. We're gonna go to the pool. We're gonna go scuba diving. We're gonna go. We live a very robust and joyful life. It's one thing that I talk to my kids about. When you come through this door, this is a home of joy, not of happiness, of joy. So, and I would say, if I was younger, my father. Okay, I'm ready for the next rapid fire question.
Okay.
1 hour.
If you could give one piece of advice, what would it be?
One piece of advice. I said it earlier. My life unfolds without my permission all the time, right? So I didn't make that one up. I stole that from somebody else. So I would say that's it, right there. Like things are going to happen that are way outside of your control, and you just got to roll with it, man.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. What's one affirmation that you wish you told yourself more often?
What would it be, hon? I'm good enough.
Yeah.
I'm just good enough, because like we had said, AA got me to take responsibility for myself, but then I had to go beyond and find other things to not take responsibility for myself, but to love myself. You know what I mean? Because after AA, could I look at myself in the mirror? Yeah, I could. But now I can look at myself in the mirror and be like, yeah, man,
You're
I like you. I like you, man. Like, you're okay. And not be sarcastic about it, but really be like, you know what? I like you, man. I really like you.
Yeah, well, before when we were using, at least for me, I never felt good enough.
Oh God, no. Fuck no.
Never...
Absolutely. You deserve all the abuse. Rain it down on me. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I'm just an awful human being. I don't deserve anything but horrible things.
Right, playing that victim, huh?
Oh yeah, for sure. But at the same time, also just being like I'm just a piece of crap anyway, so I deserve to be a victim.
Right. But we also didn't know any other way. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know how to talk to myself. I didn't know that was even a thing that I was, No. All right. My last question. What's something you want to accomplish?
You know what? I'm good, man. I think what I would want to accomplish is to just approach each day and just do the best that I can every day. Like if you're asking me specific things, like I have my EI, but I want to get my PE. It's a license in engineering. But like, who cares? It's all dust. You know what I mean? Maya Angelou has a famous quote: people don't remember what you say. People don't remember what you did. People remember how you made them feel. Right? And so for me, what I want to accomplish is just living day to day, making sure that my interactions with other people make them go, he's a good dude. Am I going to do that every day? No. And there are definitely people that I know for sure don't like me, and I don't like them. They call it your bag of ones.
What?
Your bag of ones. Don't bring your bag of ones. So if you meet 300 people and 299 of them are like, man, you're great, I like you, and one of them is like, you're a dirty, rotten whatever, I don't, it's obvious they don't like you. Who are you going to remember? Are you going to remember the 299? Or are you going to focus on that one dirty, rotten son of a bitch?
That one, unfortunately.
Yeah, most of the time, right? And so, what's the other one that I used to hear? There's two columns of people in life. One column is the people that love you and care about you, and they're your friends and your family. And then the other column is people that don't like you. You don't like them. You're not going to get along. You stay on your side of the stream, and I'll stay on my side of the stream. And you only have so many spoons of energy every day. Which column are you going to put that energy into? Right? And
Mhm.
I try to choose column one as
Right.
much as possible.
Yeah. So that's moral of the story, be nice to your bagger.
Oh, you better believe it.
Don't be that one person that
Exactly.
he remembers because you're a shithead.
And the thing is that every time that I have been, I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it and I feel awful. The funny thing is that the bagger forgets about it. But you
Eventually,
carry
right?
it around. You carry it around, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you get on customer service phone calls, like I always, if I have a frustration thing, I always go, look, I don't know you. I'm sure you're a very nice person. I'm just very frustrated with this situation that the company that you're working for is creating. Because they can be like Comcast or something like that. Ooh.
Yeah, they get the shit end of the stick, and it's like, this isn't even my company. Like,
No,
why
I
are you
just make
mean to
phone
me?
calls, man. I just answer the phone here, bro.
Yeah,
You need to
right.
call the guy that owns this joint that's making millions.
Right.
That guy doesn't give a crap at all. At all. Zero cares were given.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking all this time to chat with me and share your story and hang
Happy
out.
to.
I love it.
I'm happy to.
Well, let's call it quits, and we'll chat again.
That sounds great. What's the name of the podcast? I was gonna try and do a
Yes, it's called Recovery Captured. You're gonna do my
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
my outro.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, are you ready?
Always.
You've been listening to Shannon Louise on the Recovery Captured podcast. She's a certified recovery coach and a self-verified addict. Thanks for listening to recovery.
Yes, I love it. Thanks, Phillip.
You bet. Let's talk again another time.
You got it.